Hi, welcome to ArkIntel. It's the 20th of October 1909, just outside Eastridge, Tennessee, near the Georgia border. The night is quiet, save for the occasional rustle of winds in the trees. Federal agents are lying in wait, silently observing the road ahead. Their mission? To intercept a vehicle carrying a suspicious shipment. But this isn't just any ordinary truck. And what it's carrying isn't just any cargo. Inside the truck lies something that, if left unchecked, could have a profound impact on society for decades to come. 60 barrels. That's what the agents find. But these aren't ordinary barrels. They are filled with syrup destined for one of the world's most popular beverages, CocaCola. However, this particular batch has been tampered with, laced with a powerful stimulant, caffeine. At the time, the authorities viewed this as a dangerous and possibly addictive substance, one that could easily fall into the wrong hands or have unintended consequences. The discovery sets the stage for a much larger story, a story that would unfold over the next century in ways no one could have ever predicted. Fast forward over 100 years and we see a world transformed by caffeine. What was once a questionable stimulant is now a regular part of billions of lives. Today, caffeine is everywhere, from the iconic Starbucks coffee cups to energy drinks like Monster, from sodas like Mountain Dew to caffeine pills found in drugstores. At least 80% of the global population consumes caffeine on a regular basis. Think about that for a moment. 4 out of every 5 people you know likely rely on this stimulant to get through their day. Chances are you are one of them. Maybe you're watching this video because you couldn't sleep, or maybe you've been riding a caffeine high for hours trying to stay alert. You are not alone. The reach of caffeine is vast, and its presence in our daily lives has become so normalized that most of us don't even question it anymore. But here's the real question. How did caffeine go from being seized by the FBI to becoming one of the most widely consumed substances on Earth? And more importantly, what price are we paying for this addiction? The rise of caffeine's global dominance didn't happen overnight. It didn't take long for companies to recognize the potential power of this bitter, white powder. Caffeine wasn't just a wake-up boost. It was a gold mine waiting to be tapped. Slowly but surely, caffeine was slipped into almost everything. Sodas, over-the-counter pills, snacks, and of course, coffee. The demand for caffeine surged, and over time, it evolved into a global multi-billion-dollar industry that shaped how we live, work, and think. What made caffeine so irresistible to companies? The answer lies in its ability to create both dependency and a sense of enhanced productivity. Early on, caffeine was marketed not only as a stimulant but also as something that could help people work harder, longer, and more effectively. The combination of this productivity boost and its addictive properties made it a perfect ingredient for companies looking to sell more of their products. Despite being one of the most studied substances on the planet, caffeine still carries some hidden risks that we often overlook. Companies understood its power from the beginning, yet they worked tirelessly to downplay its potential dangers while maximizing its benefits. But how exactly did caffeine manage to conquer the world? To understand that, we have to go back to where it all began: coffee. Before caffeine found its way into every drink, coffee houses were the epicenters of caffeine consumption. During the 16th century, coffee took Europe by storm. It wasn't just a drink, it was a fuel for revolutions, both intellectual and industrial. Coffee houses quickly became hubs of activity where writers, philosophers, scientists, and traders gathered to exchange ideas. By 1700, 3,000 coffee houses had sprung across London where trade, science, and philosophy flourished. Some historians even argue that without coffee, the Enlightenment might never have gained momentum. Coffee's stimulating effects not only kept people awake but also sharpened their focus, turning late-night discussions into productive brainstorming sessions. It is no wonder that coffee became a staple for intellectuals and laborers alike. But not everyone welcomed coffee with open arms. Leaders like King Charles II saw coffee houses as a threat, fearing they would become breeding grounds for rebellion and political dissent. Coffee wasn't just keeping people awake, it was making them think, and thinking, in the eyes of rulers, could be dangerous. He tried to ban coffee houses, but the backlash was so immense, his efforts quickly failed. As history has shown, attempts to suppress caffeine were rarely successful. Then, in 1886, a new caffeinated drink entered the scene, CocaCola. Created by John Pemberton, a pharmacist from Atlanta, CocaCola was originally marketed as a remedy for ailments like headaches and exhaustion. It was sold in pharmacies as a tonic that could cure a wide variety of issues. But its real magic came from the combination of two powerful stimulants, cocaine and caffeine. Though cocaine was later removed from the formula, caffeine remained. And by the early 20th century, the drink contained levels of caffeine as high as those found in today's energy drinks. Coca-Cola wasn't just a drink, it was a phenomenon. The caffeine in the drink gave people the burst of energy they needed, and the sweetness of the syrup made it irresistibly tasty. But not everyone was happy about the new trend. One man, Harvey Washington Wiley, saw caffeine as a dangerous substance, comparable to addictive drugs like opium. As the head of what would later become the FDA, Wiley waged war on Coca-Cola, leading to a court case that gripped the entire country. At stake was more than just one drink. It was the future of caffeinated beverages in the United States. Coca-Cola, unwilling to lose its footing, commissioned studies to prove that caffeine was not only harmless but beneficial. They brought in scientists and experts to testify on their behalf, and in the end, they won the case. This victory set the stage for a century of caffeine use, unregulated and unchecked, and Coca-Cola grew into the global powerhouse it is today. Today, Coca-Cola is just one of many major players in an industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The caffeine industry includes not only soft drinks, but also energy drinks, coffee, tea, and even pharmaceuticals. But as caffeine's popularity grew, so did our understanding of its side effects. We all know the routine: a morning cup of coffee to start the day, an energy drink in the afternoon to fight off that post-lunch slump, maybe another coffee in the evening to get through a long work shift. But here's the thing, caffeine doesn't just leave your system when the buzz wears off. 5 hours after consuming caffeine, half of it is still in your body. After 12 hours, a quarter remains. Caffeine doesn't just keep you awake. It interferes with your brain's ability to signal rest. It blocks the neurotransmitter adenosine, which tells your brain that it's time to wind down. This disruption can lead to a vicious cycle of poor sleep, tiredness, and even more caffeine the next day to compensate. Before you know it, you are locked in a never-ending loop of dependency, not just for wakefulness, but for functioning. What's more, many people don't realize that caffeine's effects can vary widely based on genetics. Some people can drink a double espresso after dinner and still fall asleep without trouble, while others can feel jittery and anxious after just a single cup of coffee. This variability makes it even harder to justify just how much caffeine is too much. Research shows that caffeine is far more addictive than many people realize. In fact, it's the most widely consumed mood-altering substance in the world. But its addictive nature is so subtle that most people don't notice they are hooked until they can't go without it. The symptoms of withdrawal, that is headaches, irritability, and fatigue, are often brushed off as minor inconveniences, but for many, caffeine dependency runs deep. It's not just in coffee either. 8 out of the top 10 soft drinks in the US contains added caffeine, even though many people believe they are only reaching for these drinks because of the sugar content. Many energy drinks contain up to 3 times the caffeine of a regular soda. And here's something even more surprising. Caffeine makes us unconsciously crave more sugar. These sugary, caffeinated beverages encourage unhealthy eating habits, giving us a temporary boost followed by the inevitable crash, leading us to reach for more sugar and caffeine to compensate. What's the long-term cost of this addiction? Increased anxiety, poor sleep, and over time, it can even contribute to heart problems. The toll that caffeine can take on our bodies is often underestimated, but as more research is conducted, the hidden dangers are becoming clearer. Today, it's not just adults who consume energy drinks. In Europe, 2/3 of teenagers drink them regularly, while 1 in 3 teenagers in the US does the same. Even children are reaching for these high-powered drinks, often unaware of the potential risks. But the consequences of excessive caffeine consumption, especially in young people, are becoming increasingly apparent. There is growing evidence that excessive caffeine consumption in children and adolescents can lead to serious cardiovascular issues and may even affect brain development. And yet, the research is still emerging. As more studies come to light, consumer advocates are pushing for more stricter regulations, particularly when it comes to advertising energy drinks to younger audiences. They are calling for limits on the amount of caffeine allowed in these drinks and for clearer labeling so that consumers, especially parents, know exactly what their kids are drinking. So, how did a substance once intercepted by the federal agents become a staple of modern life? And what does the future hold? Will we see tighter control on caffeine consumption, or will it continue to be treated as an essential part of our fast-paced world? Caffeine has become an inseparable part of life for billions of people. It keeps us going, pushes us through long hours, and powers our productivity. It's in our morning coffees, our afternoon sodas, and our late-night energy drinks. But like all powerful things, caffeine comes with a price. So, it's worth asking, are we in control of caffeine, or has it taken control of us? Have we become so dependent on this stimulant that we've lost sight of its potential risks? Maybe it's time to rethink the beverages we rely on, the choices we make without a second thought. After all, there's one thing you can never buy more of: time. And while caffeine might offer a temporary boost, it can also rob us of the deep rest we need to truly recharge. In a world that moves faster every day, perhaps the most radical thing we can do is to take a step back, pause, and give ourselves permission to rest.